Hello there. I'm hoping you can hear me. Welcome to my recap for April. Yes, just got to notice my live stream started. So this is the April 2022 Rotted Reviews recap live stream. Welcome to everybody that's here. Hi, Jackie. Good to see you here. And so I hope everybody had a good April. I'm looking forward to seeing what May has to offer, both in personal life and in movies. And I hope you have an excellent month coming up. I hope we all do. But hey, DC, how's everybody doing? 'Twas okay. Yeah. Sometimes, it's just okay. But hopefully May will be excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. The way this is going to be structured is I'm going to show what I watched in April, and I do both movies and TV shows in that order, since Letterboxd at this point doesn't allow most TV shows to be logged. We'll do movies first, and then we'll go over TV stuff. So here we go. Yeah. All right, so starting with the April 1st, I watched, along with a bunch of my friends and subscribers and so forth, the premiere of Amityville Gas Chamber. And what a wild ride that was. It was the premiere of my movie. I don't have a copy of it on my desk. That's bizarre. It was the premiere of Amityville Gas Chamber, which was an exceptionally, shamefully proud moment of my life. And I thought it went extraordinarily well. So after that, we see Spiral and Bilocation. Both of those were in preparation for the video that I did for Rotted Entertainment, which is my companion channel. And it was my top 5 mind-bending Japanese horror films. Bilocation was going to be one of those 5, just based on seeing it on so many lists. And after I finished watching it, I realized that it wound up in a place of mediocrity and could not be my top 5 anything. So I had to find an alternate, and Spiral fit that bill pretty nicely. So there we go. But I didn't want to just let Bilocation go to waste, so I did do a review of it, and was happy to do that at the very least. After that, on April 8th, I did a review of A Haunting in Ravenwood. And if you missed that one, that was a situation where I got contacted by the filmmaker because I had previously thrashed the movie Amityville Poltergeist. And in my review of that, I said, I'm curious to see what they come up with next. I don't ever want to discourage filmmakers. I try not to come at a place of venom or vitriol. So I may rail on a movie, but I really try to not make it personal, because the last thing I want to do is dissuade anybody from pursuing, their passion. If it's something that they really want to pursue, I'm not going to be the one that kicks the, stool out from under them. So I did say, I'm curious to see what you come up with next. And they put me to the test with that one. They said, okay, you said it. Here's my next movie. And it was A Haunting in Ravenwood. So happy to review that one, even though there was some improvement over Amityville Poltergeist, but not a ton. After that, Where, which was a surprise. That was a request that was put in by patron Twan Strong, who wanted me to review this movie, and I had never heard of it before. I don't really have a lot of werewolf experience. I still haven't seen Ginger Snaps, which is a surprise to a lot of folks. It's often a surprise to a lot of folks that I have blind spots at all, which is silly to me. Of course I do. But, then to find out that I have blind spots of pretty common watches, it happens, to the best of us, clearly. But, it does happen. And Where was a decent movie. It was sort of found footage, sort of not. It kind of, wavered in between. It was more traditional filming style that kind of took advantage of like CCTV and archive and news footage and so forth when it wanted to dip into that perspective. Let's see. Jackie, whoa. What's whoa? Jackie dipping into her, oh, jeez. Oh, God, what's his name? Joey? From Blossom? That's a deep cut. That's an old cut. I'm showing my age there. Whoa. All right, after that. Oh, yeah, Ginger Snaps. What are you going to do? I'm part of Nightmare Maven's Patreon, so I'll catch watch parties with her. And I think that Ginger Snaps is one of the movies that may be on the docket this month. So if it is, I'm looking forward to that. Oh, you did suggest that. Okay. So then we have Alma, and shortly followed by X. I don't mean to group them together necessarily. It's just in my mind, they kind of lumped together because they were both $20 VOD rentals for me. But X was heads and tails better than Umma, which I really didn't have too much of a problem with Umma. It was more, I explained it in my review, and I apologize if, for anybody that watches all of my reviews, and God help you if you do. I know that I'm repeating myself a fair bit here, but with Umma, I think that it was held back by trying to be a very traditional horror movie. It dealt with some very deep concepts of mother-daughter relationships, cultural aspects, all sorts of different stuff that I would have liked to have seen dipped into a lot further than it did. And it just tried to shoehorn itself into being a jump scare fest and what you might consider to be a mainstream theatrical release horror movie. And I just think that it wasn't the right mold for it. Hey, Robert, welcome here. You got your Amityville Gas Chamber DVD. That's awesome. So stinky. Well, it never touched my hands. Well, it's just in the realm of Trepstar printing services, I suppose. All right. And X, I enjoyed X quite a bit. Titanic 666. Okay, so I know I'm going to try and not say this every single live stream, but I am a part of several Patreons. And in that, I take part in different watch parties, and everybody's watch party has a very different tone to it. In this, there's always going to be a lumping of 2, 3, possibly 4 movies that are just some of the most silly dreck on earth. And if you see that, that's probably because I was taking part in Bloodbath & Beyond's watch party, who does it once a month, and it's usually a lump. Like, we'll just go on Tubi, watch a really bad movie, make fun of it, watch the next movie, make fun of it, watch the next movie, make fun of it. And this was an Easter special kind of thing. So yeah, we did Fist of Jesus, which was awesome. It was so fun. It was a short film. And it's definitely going to be an Easter tradition for me from here on out. Every year, we're going to be watching Fist of Jesus. I guarantee it. I mean, it's a short film. It's not a huge time commitment, and it is remarkably fun. But then we get into some not so fun territory, like Titanic 666. I was looking forward to that one from the trailer, and it's a Tubi original. And one thing I didn't realize is that it's a sequel to Titanic 2, which I don't remember if that was I don't think that was a Full Moon or Charles. No, it wasn't a Charles Band. Maybe it was bad. And so Titanic 666 was a sequel to that. So they went out and tried to sail on the Titanic 3. But the one thing that it was more than anything else was boring, and that was unfortunate, really. And then Easter Bunny Kill Kill was just god-awful, and it touched on some really god-awful subject matter points as well. Like, it went some dark directions for being as bad as it was. Yeah, I don't recommend that one. And then The Editor. This is one we kind of collectively decided on as kind of a bit of a palate cleanser, and I had never seen it before, so it was an interesting movie that I did like, and has a lot of overlap from a production standpoint with Psycho Goreman. And the best way I can really describe it is a satire of giallo films that takes the form of an extreme giallo film. And in that, it's a love letter to giallo films. I have not been, and I've been vocal about this, I have not been the biggest fan of the modern giallo resurgence. And films like In Fabric and Barbarian Sound Studio, I appreciate a lot of what they're trying to do, but it hasn't landed for me. For me, the giallo is, like that subgenre of horror doesn't necessarily have to belong to a particular decade, but I think that it serves itself well. Yeah, sorry. I think that it serves itself well focusing on the storylines of like low budget, gritty crime dramas that have these odd elements to them, and a certain aesthetic zeal and style that it kind of adheres to in telling these murder mystery kind of things. And it can go the supernatural route, certainly. But it seems like with this modern resurgence, it's more focused on the aesthetics of it than it is any of the core elements. So we wind up with a ton of, bisexual lighting and odd imagery, and then they call that a giallo film. It's like, it's just not. I mean, it's abstract, it's bizarre, it's weird for the sake of weird, and in its own way, kind of beautiful, but I don't know, it doesn't really land for me. So watching The Editor, which was, in my mind, some of the best aspects of giallo film brought to the modern world in a satirical comedic fashion, was awesome. The Sadness. Enough said. If you've heard of it, May 12th on Shudder. There you go. So this is an interesting thing here, following The Sadness, and it's not related to The Sadness, but it is related to, I don't even really want to go into it too much. But yes, you can see at some point when I've gone through a little bit of a rough spot. Everybody has them, and every so often I'll wind up in a rough spot and I'll need to self-soothe. And me being a movie lover, you'll see sometimes Muppet Treasure Island will be followed up by Kiki's Delivery Service, or My Neighbor Totoro, or something, The Goonies, something where I'm wrapping myself in a warm, comfortable blanket and just allowing myself to be comfortable for a little bit. So, yeah, those two were exactly that. I was going through a little bit of a rough moment and comforting myself. We're all going to the World's Fair. I haven't done a review of this, and I don't know if I will. I'm probably not. And I think the reason for, no particular reason, I knew that I kind of wanted to discuss it here, but it was interesting. I did enjoy it, not as much as I was expecting, though. Watching people's reaction to this, or hearing the buzz about it, I was expecting a lot more of an absolute terrifying, shaking my boots horror film, and it's just not. It has very strong tones of isolationism, loneliness, and some of the mortal fear that can kind of go along with that. It touches on some really complex topics, which I enjoyed. I think I was expecting a much different movie than it delivered. And there were also aspects of it that were lost on me. And it kind of came from two places on that. One was, it was lost on me because of my place of privilege, being a cis white male. There were elements of this that I was blind to. The writer-director is a trans woman, and put some of the subtext of the aspects of her life and her reconciliation on a mental and emotional level that she kind of went through in, not just, like the act of transitioning, but the entire lifelong process. as subtext within the movie, and I didn't pick up on that. And knowing that now, I can kind of see some elements of it. However, I said there was kind of two elements in play. The other element is not just not picking up on that, but still not being able to see that necessarily. And it wasn't, once the end credits rolled, a lot of it was lost on me. And I knew that it was trying to elicit an emotion, a feeling, more than a story. And it, to a somewhat, it succeeded somewhat, not entirely. But I did manage to read some director's notes that were sent to me by Emma Spooky Astronauts, which I really appreciated. And reading through that, I picked up on a lot more. And I can look back on it in hindsight and realize the aspects of it that I did miss. But it begs the conversation of how much subtext should be presented to the audience and how subtle is too subtle. If a movie is trying to have an underlying tone that really astute people will pick up on, then I think that's fantastic. It adds to a sense of conversation and repeated watching, so on and so forth. But if it's a situation where it's so subtle that it requires reading director's notes after the fact, that's something that I have trouble getting on board for. For me, the merit of a film should be contained in its runtime. But, like I said, that's the kind of thing that really sparks a good conversation. Hotel Poseidon. I was going to do a review of this one, and I just decided, no, I'm not going to. Hotel Poseidon. This was really bizarre. So this one, God, where was it made? Oh, Sweden? Stefan Lernoux. I'm trying to remember where this was made. I want to say Sweden. Belgium. Okay. And Dutch and Portuguese. That makes sense. Okay. So it was made in Belgium. And basically the way that I can really put this is a man is kind of isolated in a decrepit hotel. And it's almost like Mother in that it relies on some very odd abstract imagery, and to this main character who's simply trying to go on with his life, weirder and weirder things start compounding and more people start joining the hotel. And it's this effect of this constant movement of oddness. And yeah, it does have a cool one-shot take. It has, definitely has a pretty remarkable cool one-shot take, but it never really resonated with me. I think one of the aspects of it that's a draw, if you can call it that, winds up being a bit of a hindrance, and that's the grossness of it. And it is quite gross. The best way I can really describe it is a tinge of decrepit building that is constantly moldy, with spoiled food everywhere. Everybody is greasy and pale. And, it made me kind of think, it was like, is this an allegory for purgatory or what's going on? There seemed to be a lot of allegorical nature to it, but I never really picked up on exactly what they were trying to say. It wound up just being a mess, both in the imagery and in the story. So, yeah, I just never really was able to get on board with that one. And we got Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell. Thank you, Ben, for recommending this one. This was the Japanese Evil Dead. And because last month he had me review the Bollywood Evil Dead. So he's trying to continue the tradition of Evil Dead remakes from around the world. And that was his contribution, which I really did enjoy that one. It is a title. It absolutely is. But man, it was it had such a feeling to it. It had it was very claustrophobic. So much of the camera work was really tight. And I think that's by the merit of not actually having a lot of physical room where they were shooting. But I mean, it was very low budget, but very creative. It had stop motion, it had paper mache, it had gelatin. They really pulled out all the stops and everything out of the pantry to make this movie happen. And I really got the impression by that it was one of those things where a group of friends was inspired after watching the Sam Raimi The Evil Dead and said, hey, we can, let's get some ketchup and some Caro food, syrup, and do this ourselves. And man, I dig that so much. So this is one that was kind of lost to the annals of cinematic archives for a while, but it got a DVD resurgence. I had to buy the physical media for this one. And Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that this is going to wind up actually getting some streaming distribution shortly. So at least I think that's what Ben said. Don't Go in the House. I'm not going to talk too much about that one because that's actually going to be for a collab project with another creator down the line. The Babushkas of Chernobyl. This was recommended by Jackie. And what a movie this was. It's a documentary for the Babushkas. Thank you so much. I need to figure out a name for this. Rotted something. Rotted. Leave your choice of alliteration for donations. Rotted reward. I don't know. Anyway, thank you, Jackie, for both the recommendation and the rotted revenant relish. But yeah, the Babushkas of Chernobyl was a remarkable documentary about a group of folks that, or grandmothers really, but just fairly strictly grandmothers that were forced to leave during the incident at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant back in the 80s and coming back into the exclusion zone to live. And they pretty much just live off the land. They're fairly spread apart from each other. They're very isolated. Seem like very, very pleasant individuals that are just tough as nails. Whatever they eat is pretty much whatever they grow, and everything is, like in this constant state of high radiation and, damaging health, but it's their home. And they didn't want to leave their home, and they wanted to make their way. And, a part of that, feels foolish, but, that they're doing it. And, it was a remarkable documentary. It was heartbreaking. It was heartwarming. It was a lot of things. I recommend it. It's free on Tubi. That's where I think that's where I watched it. Yeah. Great documentary there. Strictly for the Birds. This was a VOD release that I kind of took a little bit of a gamble on, and it was bizarre. This was a movie that was kind of, I think, undone by its format. We had a situation where the writer-director wanted to tell her story. She's a woman, trans woman that has trans woman that did not transition until much later in life. She's in her 70s now. I don't think that she started her transition until she was in her late 50s, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but it was definitely later in life. And kind of figured, like at that point, very happy and loving the ability to just be her honest self, but also with the sense of, this is it. Like, I'm going to be alone. I'm all right with that because I'm me. Prior to her transition, she had, living as a man, had, multiple wives, or at least, one wife. I'm trying to remember. At least one wife. Yeah, and that didn't go well. And wanted to tell, and then wound up, as after the transition, after moving to a new city, met one of her neighbors and wound up falling in love, which was a remarkably heartwarming thing. Hey there, horrible show. How's it going, Tanner? So yeah, I mean, heartwarming story, and she wrote a book, and now she has the opportunity to make this movie, and she wants to tell her story, which is fantastic. But instead of getting actors to play the principal characters, she and her, want to say wife now? Girlfriend? Wife? Partner, decided to play themselves. So it was kind of a weird situation because it could have been an interesting documentary, but it wasn't. It was taking the form of not fictional, but story narrative. But it at the same time, I gotta watch my time here because I got a book club thing for Nightmare Raven at 9:00. But instead of going the documentary route and, just being their honest selves, it went with a story, narrative, but they weren't trained actors, and it really showed. So it was a very odd situation of perspective, and I just don't think that it really worked. And I thought that there was also like that other layer of that's a bit of a shame, considering the story of this remarkable woman is the liberating ability to be comfortable in her own skin and be herself, her full and honest self. And she's kind of shoehorning this into this mold that she's not really, she's not an actor. And it felt a bit oddly self-detrimental. So I wanted to like Strictly for the Birds, and there were elements of it that I did like, but it just didn't work. I hope you're doing well too, Tanner. I hope everybody's doing well. Then we have Nightmares and Dreamscapes from the Stories of Stephen King. This is the only entry I saw for this, but Jackie had me watch the first episode of this miniseries. It was an 8-part miniseries that came out in 2006, and the first episode was called Battleground, and it was a completely dialogueless episode that starred William Hurt, and it was a great episode. From what I understand, the remaining 7 episodes go downhill, but that one was good. You Won't Be Alone. I wanted to like that a lot more than I did. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was very beautiful in places, and it was heartbreaking. But I just don't think that after watching The Witch, after watching You Won't Be Alone, after watching Hagazusa, I just don't think that period piece abstract witch stories work for me that well. What are you going to do? Then it was kind of getting some of my bucket list watches done with Uncut Gems there. I had not seen Uncut Gems until the 29th. And I liked it. And I could see where a lot of people were coming from. I just don't think it wasn't the movie for me. Maybe I'm getting too old. I like, simple, small, quiet, comfortable, heartwarming, heartbreaking stories. That one was just, bam, 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 mile a minute, all the way through for, over 2 hours. And I could see where a lot of people were coming from with kind of comparing it to Scorsese and so forth. And I could see that. That doesn't necessarily mean that it, worked for me on that much, that much. You think you think Lake Placid is a guilty pleasure, 4-star, or genuinely think it's great? Both. I enjoy creature features, and the 4-star thing kind of comes, it's my best translation of Letterboxd scoring within my scoring system for my reviews. So I gave that 80 out of 100 points. So it was like the lowest score possible before it dipped down into 3.5 stars, just by mathematical whatevers. And, but I mean, just kind of scoring it, I thought the plot was solid. Had a lot of fun characters to it. I really didn't have a whole lot of complaints. Offered plenty of surprises. On an intent level, I thought it delivered exactly what it was trying to do. So high marks there. On the acting level, I mean, Oliver Platt stole the show, but I thought everybody did a fairly good job. We're dealing with some really strong stuff there. We got, Bill Pullman, Bridget Fonda, Oliver Platt, Brendan Gleeson, solid cast, doing a good job with the material. And then on a technical level, I thought the blend of the practical effects with the CG effects was remarkably well done. So yeah, I mean, just tallying it all up, I wound up with 80 out of 100 points, and I stand by it. I love that movie. Creature features are great, and when they're done well with good characters, they stand up. Okay, and then Everything Everywhere All at Once and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I caught these as a double feature on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. I actually made it out of town. I drove an hour and a half, got to the theater, and did a double feature thing. I timed it perfectly, so one ended, the next one started. And great day. The first movie that I saw was The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and that was everything that I was hoping for. I love Nicolas Cage, and I think I have difficulty with this one because I love it when he kind of does his nutty self, when he goes full Nicolas Cage. But I also don't think that alone makes a good movie. And I had difficulty with Mandy specifically. That's one that I kind of want to revisit. We'll see if I do. But I did enjoy him hamming it up in a movie that was all about him. And watching his relationship. Why is the name escaping me now? Watching the two leads' relationship together was great. Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. But then I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. And that, to me, Pedro Pascal. Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, that was not going to come to me until tomorrow in the shower. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I am trying to avoid hyperbole. That being said, I do think that it is quite possibly one of the most remarkable movies I've ever seen in my life. I left the theater and drove home thinking about it and struggled to find fault with it. Any fault. At all. I've gotten the question more than once, specifically in regards to my rating system, if I would ever rate a movie 100. And, like I said, the letterbox thing here, so mathematically it kind of divides. I have not given any movie 5 stars because as far as I'm concerned, mathematically to kind of correlate with my scoring system, that would have to be a full 100 points, which has never happened. And I've always said that I allow for the possibility, but I don't think that it would ever happen because that would have to be the perfect movie. And I think that art is all about the the striving for perfection, the ever unattainable goal of perfection. But I drove an hour and a half to try to go and went home and been thinking about it ever since, and I can't figure out any faults in it. And I've really struggled with this, and I don't want to be dissecting it specifically to look for faults. It was just remarkable that I was thinking about along the lines of my scoring system with the plot and with the intention and with the acting and with the technicals. I can't think of any reason to give them any less than 25 points each. And it's not a movie that I've reviewed for the channel, but I think it's got to be the first movie that I've ever given 5 points to, or 5 stars, 100 points to. I've seen Seven Samurai. I've seen Children of Paradise. I've seen some of the best movies, objectively, that have ever been put to screen in the history of cinema. And I cannot find a singular fault with Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was remarkable. It was beautiful. It tore my heart out. It made me laugh so hard. Such a good movie. And there we have it. I really think, against all odds, and I just never thought it would happen in my lifetime, that I would ever consider a movie to be perfect. That's not to say that, it is the only movie that ever could be perfect. I mean, it follows, we'll see if anything else will match it on a quality level. It did have 3 back-to-back, but I think that was kind of, I don't want to go into spoilers. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. I think that was appropriate considering the complexity of the characters that were involved. Like, it had developed layers and it needed to address those layers at that point. Otherwise, it would have felt incomplete. I'm not going, it could be fun in a weird way if you review Lucifer Valentine movies. I'm not inclined to do that. And it's, I don't want to sound harsh about it, but I have my limits. I do. And one of those limits is I refuse, just flat out across the board, I will never ever watch any of the Vomit Slaughter Dolls trilogy. Yeah, I just can't do it. It actually kind of gives me peace. It gives me a little bit of the ability to sleep well at night with some of the material that I do watch, to know that on some level I do have a limit, and here it is. And for me, that's Lucifer Valentine. I have no interest in it. I have emetophobia. I don't like watching any kind of vomiting in movies at all. But to subject myself to a trilogy that's surrounded by it, that it's the core concept, and it's real, I have no inclination for that. Hats off to anybody that does, but man, that's just not for me. That's the other thing I heard, is that they're pretty boring and not very well made. And there's also the, I think I have to still censor my words pretty heavily with YouTube on even the live streams. Well, let's just say a lot of very strongly backed allegations against Lucifer Valentine that make me not want to support him as an artist in that regard as well, even if I didn't have those elements. So, anywho, so let's get into TV shows. All right, I'm going to move a few things around here. So, got that there, got that there. Okay. So, these are the TV shows that I've also been watching. I've been logging these. I'm going to have to keep this under about 20 minutes here, or 20 minutes, because I need to wrap up by 9. So I've been continuing my watch of Abbott Elementary. For me, I've been enjoying it. I don't really fall on the fan bandwagon quite as much as I've seen a lot of people do. For me, it's a fairly solid sitcom, but I don't think it really elevates beyond a traditional sitcom kind of format. There's a lot of good feel-good moments, good characters, good laughs, but it's kind of it's a sitcom. I feel like the odd one out for not liking what everyone's liking. Don't. That's fine. I mean, we're all different. I like what a lot of people don't like. I don't like what a lot of people like. There's no, don't feel weird about it. That's my best advice. If everybody all liked the same thing, then this would be a pretty bland world indeed. So, difference of opinion, as long as it can be met with a level of mutual respect, makes for the spicy stew of society. So yeah, that's fine. If you didn't like Everything Everywhere, you thought it was too goofy, perfectly. I mean, it was goofy. I'm used to the Daniels films. I love the short film. What was it? The Ball, Amazing Ball, Incredible Ball. The short film that they did there, I love that to pieces. I love Swiss Army Man. So the nature of it was something that I was kind of expecting, and I can see that being really kind of odd. Beyond odd, and simply traveling into goofy for some folks. That's perfectly fine. Barry has started back up again. So we're now in 2 episodes of season 3. And I'm not going to give spoilers. I'm trying not to give spoilers about any of this, but I've been enjoying this a lot. I enjoyed season 2 immensely, and it seems like season 3 is taking a very different tone. And the last episode was difficult. So, love Barry. Been a fantastic series, and I'm really excited to see where season 3 winds up. Finished up from, and let's throw up my my super duper chart. Yeah, so rating of, my video gets mirrored, so rating of 8 to 0. 8 being I will drop everything to watch it immediately as soon as a new episode comes out, kind of drifting down the line in terms of maybe I'll just wait for the whole season to come out, then down to, you're kind of losing me here, you need to pick up the pace. That's kind of where I'm at with Doctor Who. And then 0 is I'm done. I'm out. Take a miracle to bring me back into watching the show. So I was kind of at a 7 or 8 when From started. I kind of drifted into 6, and I stuck with that for the merit of wanting to make another video about it. Now that season 1 has wrapped, I'm pretty solidly at I would say a 3. So some people are saying that they love it. For me, not quite so much. I've been watching How It's Made. Sorry, pouring myself more water here. Yeah. Writer Reviews gets an 8. Oh, thank you, Ben. What a guy. Yeah, I've been enjoying How It's Made. It's one of those series that I'll go back to just kind of for filler. I'll toss it on in the background, or it's such a low time commitment. Just watch the segment of How It's Made. It's fun. I guess the only real comment I have on it is I enjoy the simpler stuff more. When it gets, like how to make baseballs, that's incredible. Or toothbrushes. Holy shit, that's really cool how that machinery works with actually loading up bristles. When it gets into too complicated of an area, like front loader, trucks or something like that, or then it interests me less because it's more, it's less how it's made and more how it's assembled. And I just think that that's slightly less interesting to me. Continuing on with Last Week Tonight. Continuing on with Moon Knight. It seems like that is starting to wrap up. I will say that for me, the quality kind of started out at kind of medium high, dipped down into medium, and that it's picking back up. I've been enjoying it more. So it's still not my favorite Marvel show by a long shot, but at the very least, I'm enjoying it. I used to crush that show, Unwrapped, on the Food Network. Unwrapped was great. I'm still waiting to see Inside Eats, which is Rhett and Link's new Food Network show that they have out. I think they just showed episode 2, and I'm never up that late. So, yeah. But yeah, I do love Unwrapped. That was always fun. Picard, continuing on with that, that's about to wrap up, and that's another one where started out medium high, really started to dip and lose me a bit, but now it's got me back. I've been liking where the last few episodes have been going, especially the last one that aired. So yeah, I'm still on board. Russian Doll Season 2. I loved Russian Doll Season 1 so much. It was such a good show. I'm a big fan of the Groundhog Day format in anything. I think it's just one of the most marvelous thought experiments ever. And I love seeing it done well. And Russian Doll was that and more. And I loved it. But I would say that Russian Doll Season 2 is one of those things where it's good, but it's good standing on the shoulders of great. And in that, it was a little bit deflating. Like, season 1 was just lightning in a bottle, and I think that it's somewhat unreasonable to expect that they can recapture that. Still hoping. Still, I enjoyed season 2. Just, it wasn't season 1. That period there where I went through watching Muppet Treasure Island and Kiki's Delivery Service, yeah, I also watched Schitt's Creek. My third rewatch of it, in my mind, one of the top TV shows of all time. All told, love Schitt's Creek so much, and yeah, it was getting back into that, wrapping myself up in a warm, snuggly, comfy blanket of inclusivity and happiness, and yeah, I love Schitt's Creek. I have seen I've seen parts of Channel Zero. I've seen all of season 1 and 2, parts of season 3. I need to pick it back up and finish the series. But yeah, I enjoyed season 1. I thought that season 2 was remarkable, and season 3 was pretty slow. I've heard people say that it is worth continuing on. Yeah, No End House was awesome. But I've heard some people talk about season 3 as one of the better ones. For me, it lost me. So I need to try again. Yeah, I'm probably at some point going to do, like, watch the entire series and then do a special video on Routed Entertainment about, like, Channel Zero seasons ranked or something like that. Severance, finished the first season of Severance, which loved it. So good. Yeah, man, that went places that were just completely unexpected, and one of my favorite recent TV shows. Taskmaster. I watched the original British with Alex Horne and Greg Davies, Taskmaster. I know they have versions of it all over the world now, so I kind of have to specify that. But yeah, it was the newest season. I want to say season 13 just started up, and I've been watching that now, which has been a lot of fun. Travel Man. Somebody else is... I was disarmed by this because somebody else is now Travel Man. I was used to it being Richard Ayoade for a long while. And I saw new episodes of Travel Man were available, and I kicked them on and was like, what the hell is this? Joe Lycett is now the host of Travel Man. There was a part of me that wanted to rebel against that. If you've never seen Travel Man, it's a fun British show where the host will take a comedian or celebrity of some sort and take them on a mini break holiday, 2 days, somewhere in the world. And compared to most anthology horror series, Channel Zero hits for me more than it misses. I would agree with that. And yeah, so I guess Richard Ayoade, after doing it for, 10, 11 years or so, just, decided to step down. I still am not sure exactly why. He was asked on a panel show at some point, and I did watch the YouTube video of that, and it was a very Richard Ayoade answer, which was pretty, tongue-in-cheek, smart-ass, and probably not to be taken to be taken with a big grain of salt. And big grain of salt. So now Joe Lycett is the host, and there was a part of me that really wanted to rebel against that, to say, no more Travel Man for me. I kind of dig Joe Lycett. It's a different feel. It's a different vibe. But once I got through a couple episodes, I was like, okay, this is still a good show. Joe is offering something different, but still something quality. So yeah, new Travel Man. Oh, and we're back to Abbott. So that's the TV shows I've been watching. Which means that we're about to wrap this up. So, does anybody have any questions for me since we're on Livestream? We can do a little Q&A thing. See how it goes. Always loved his movie Submarine. That's one I haven't seen yet. I need to. I also, there's this weird itch in me that wants to see that that comedy that he turned out about the security guards or something that he did with like Kevin James and a few other American comedians. It seems like such an odd thing. Should have got David Ferrier to do the show. He had a travel show. Dark Tourism on Netflix. Joe Lysette, he brings a very lighthearted flair to it. He's definitely not the dry humorist that Ayoade is. Unafraid to show a smile. Wears a very lighthearted, presence on his sleeve. What TV shows do you think you'll be watching this month? It's a good question. I'm not sure. What's coming out? I follow movies that come out, and TV shows, it's just kind of, hey, new one's here. I am looking forward to Inside Eats. I'm looking forward to seeing what Rhett and Link can do on a, cable channel. That's kind of interesting. Top Gun 2. I'm not the biggest Tom Cruise fan. I gravitate. Stranger Things season 4. I'm looking forward to Stranger Things season 4. Tom Cruise and I have a bit of an odd relationship. I always kind of am on a balancing act between being impressed with his acting skills, which I will fully admit are there after Eyes Wide Shut, Magnolia, things like that. I won't dispute that. And then also being immensely irritated by him. And I'm always, So more interested in the aerial photography. That does interest me. It seems a little, I wish Tony Scott was on board, but what are you going to do? You might like Dynasty, the current CW version. I've always liked Fallon. Fallon for me is kind of hit or miss. I liked him on SNL, but then I always liked the clips of people breaking character, and he did that more than anybody else. I'm not the biggest fan of Fallon as a talk show host, and to me, kind of a travel host seems like it would fall under that category a bit more. So I'd give it a whirl, but I would definitely give it a whirl, but I wouldn't say that Fallon would be a draw for me. Also Star Trek, Lost Worlds. Is that the name of it? My brain's frying on me. The new Star Trek show. I'm really looking forward to that. Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. Oh, no, the character Fallon Carrington. Okay, I thought you were talking about Jimmy Fallon. Sorry. I have not seen the British show series Utopia from 2013. I am looking forward to Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I thought that season 2 of Discovery with Christopher Pike was the best season of the show, and Christopher Pike and the crew of the Enterprise was one of the reasons for that. So I'm really excited about seeing them get their own show. And from what I'm hearing, it is definitely going to be kind of getting back to some of the roots of Star Trek. I still don't know a whole lot about it, but from what I understand, the spirit of exploration and adventure within the hopefulness of what mankind can achieve is going to be one of the front and present things of that. So I'm looking forward to that. Lower Decks is so much fun. I did not expect it to be one of my favorite Trek shows currently airing, but here we are. It's silly and remarkable, and I think it's so accessible too. I think that Lower Decks works for even non-Star Trek fans. But if you are a Star Trek fan, if you've seen all of the original series and all of the Next Generation and so forth, you're going to have so many wonderful Easter eggs in that show. It's going to be great. But Lower Decks is phenomenal. Do you have any opinions about new Doctor Who casting? I don't follow it, but some friends are chatting about it. Do I have any opinions about it? My big opinion on it is I hope that they do something with somebody that's relatively unknown. A lot of people will come up with, I really hope that it's Hugh Grant was the one that was kind of floating around for a while before he debunked it. And a lot of folks will, chime in with who they think it'll be out of a pool of celebrities that are already around. And for me, I think one of the best things about The Doctor is how it can be kind of a clean slate. I loved Jodie Whitaker as an actress. I thought that her performance in Broadchurch was freaking amazing. And I was really looking forward to her as the Doctor. But I think that was just a really great example of you can have a phenomenal actor. But if it's not going to have the showrunner and the vision and the writers that will do the character and the storylines justice, then it's all going to fall apart. Like, the really unfortunate thing is so many people blamed Jodie Whitaker for that. And I think quite unfairly. I think that she did about as good of a job as could be expected with the material that she was given, which was sadly lackluster. And I fully admit, cards on the table, it lost me. I'm not a big fan of Doctor Who right now. But yeah, I'm hoping that the big changes and the big shakeups and so forth will be for the positive net benefit of the series. I'm almost of the opinion that maybe, it needs to stop for a while, for a decade or two. But it sounds like they kind of want to follow in the MCU's footsteps from what I'm hearing, and like maybe do some spin-offs and do different showrunners and have multiple shows that are kind of paralleling one another and occasionally cross over. We'll see. Yeah, writer is king in TV. Dave, what did you miss? Not a whole lot, just, the last 56 minutes. But this will be archived. You'll be able to watch it back if you so desire. But given that, and given I have 4 minutes to prepare for this book club meeting that Nightmare Maven's doing and so on, I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be doing it at the beginning of every month and talking about my recap stuff, movies and TV shows, and continue logging them until people beg me to stop. So, beg me if you want to. If you want this to stop, now's your chance to, say your piece. But until then, I'm going to continue on with this. So thank you for joining me. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. And take care, everybody. I look forward to talking to you soon.